Look away now if you hate stoves, because in this video we're testing a Trangia, a fire maple, and even a Kelly kettle. I've waited a while to do this video as I wanted to make sure that I got a decent amount of varied usage of these items before comparing them and talking to you all about them. And I can honestly say that considering they're all camping and outdoors type stoves and burners, there's a surprising amount of difference in when you might want to use one of these or the other. Most of this video will be these actually in action, don't worry, but I just want to start with a quick side-by-side comparison so you can see how big they are. The smallest and lightest is this Trangia with mini cook set in this case, and that, even with the fuel in, unbelievably comes to less than 450 grams. Now, stepping up a gear at just over 700 grams, including our full gas canister, is the Fire Maple FMS X1. But you can see, just like the Trangia, this is also a completely self-contained little set. When it comes to the Kelly kettle, I can't do a fair size and weight comparison because this isn't the smallest one that they do, and it is a completely and utterly different beast to the Trangia and the Fire Maple, but we'll look far more in depth at that in just a moment. So you can see I used the last of my bioethanol fuel in the Trangia there, and this is one of the things that I love with the mini cook set that come with the Trangia that I bought, that it's so tiny when it's self-contained, but you have pretty much got everything that you need to do a variety, we'll say. You might not be able to cook much in it, but you've got your pan here, which I'm just going to I'm going to boil a standard cup's worth of water in it, and as that starts to boil, I just want to show you some random other footage while I talk more about why I love it. But we've also got a frying pan with a non-stick surface as well, which we can use in this case as a lid to help heat the water up a lot faster. Now, this I love. This is my favourite item that I own, I think. It's slow, and it took over 8 minutes to boil that cup of water in this case, which seemed particularly slow if I'm honest. However, it's just almost hypnotic. It's practically silent when it's in operation, and the way that the flame starts off invisible and then steadily just builds up to be a bit more yellowy and visible. It's absolutely wonderful. I really love it, and it's extremely compact and lightweight, even in this cook set, which is a huge bonus to me. And you can see what I say, we've gone from an invisible flame to a very visible flame right now. And we've got this little topper that we can either use to regulate the flame to a smaller level or completely smother and put the flame out entirely. So yeah, the Trangia, I absolutely love it, but it is slow, but it makes up for that in sheer minimal weight and size. When we're on to the Fire Maple, you can see this one is stepping up to be a 1 litre capacity from the Trangia, but this is the opposite in many respects. Not only is the Fire Maple much bigger and heavier, it is also incredibly loud, whereas the Trangia is practically silent. But, just to make sure it's really opposite the Trangia, it is also incredibly efficient and very quick, and it actually boiled the water in just over 2 minutes as opposed to the Trangia's 8 minutes. However, the Trangia is just so much more pleasant, and it's almost romantic to use with the flame flickering around, whereas, well, this is the Fire Maple. Although the Fire Maple may lack some romanticism, the efficiency just can't be argued with, and it's for that alone that I absolutely love this thing. It's just so handy, so quick and easy, and again, what I love, it's a self-contained kit that all packs away into itself. And I think in some respects, it looks a lot safer than the Trangia. The Trangia is literally a small open tub of very flammable liquid that's already on fire, whereas here you can see just how enclosed that flame is. Of course, we've got that little dial that we can turn the gas off with, and all in all, it's just a really neat, nice little package that's put together. The Trangia I absolutely love for just sitting down and being on a little walk, no rush in particular, or being camped up and just having the flickering flame dancing away there. But if I was in a dry ground area where there's potential risk of fire spreading, something like this seems infinitely safer. And as I say, you can see there, it's not even 2 minutes on the clock and it's already boiling. Whereas we're only just seeing the first hints of bubbles at about the 7.5 minute mark with the Trangia. Don't get me wrong, like I say, the Trangia is one of my favourite items that I've ever owned. I love using it. But if you're just wanting to get out camping, efficient, safe, and sensible, the Fire Maple might be the one for you. On to the Kettle. So this is basically a cylindrical kettle that sits over the round base in which you build a fire, which means it is very efficient because it absorbs all of the heat of the flames as it passes up through the centre of the kettle itself, and it also means there's a lot of surface area that's helping to boil the water. This also came with a cook set, and full disclosure here, Kettle actually sent me this about a decade ago as a freebie. Ironically, it's also the one I'm least likely to recommend out of the three, and use the least, although the fact I own it still after all these years does suggest I do enjoy using it when I do take it out from time to time. You'll probably start to see yourself where some of the issues are with a piece of kit like this. And firstly, I suppose, the nature of the fire, whereas the others are burning contained fuel, let's say, alcohol in the Trangia's case, gas in the Fire Maple's case, this just uses general fuel. So you can see here I'm using just bits of cut up wood, I could be using bits of tree and dried out stick and so on. But because you are basically just having a standard fire in a small container, it does mean that you've basically got something that's putting out a lot of smoke, a lot of smell, certainly compared to the other two in this video, and is potentially going to be creating embers and potentially more of a fire risk than the other two, especially when you remove the kettle itself. As you saw, we just have that completely open fire pit, basically, a fire in a bowl, which the last thing you would want, especially as we've had a lot of proper good prolonged dry weather in the UK, is something like that blowing into a lot of dry kindling like ground surrounding it. But it is also its own fun little bit of kit to use. And if you're using this for a survival situation or prolonged time in the outdoors, of course, whereas the other two stoves we've seen, you have to worry about the fuel, this, you've got fuel all around you. As long as you can get it lit, you can boil water with this. And of course, with the cook set, you can even add extra stuff on top. But this is what I'm saying. As soon as you take that kettle off, look at that. That's a proper good fire going that you don't want potentially blowing into a very flammable surrounding environment. So I do love this thing, but I think you've got to pick and choose your time to use it, if I'm honest. So let's wrap that up. In short, the Trangia is my favourite of the three, but it's very inefficient, it's slow, and it can give your position away if you're trying to stealth camp and it starts flickering around with a very bright flame. The Fire Maple is probably the best item. It's very efficient, it's a nice self-contained package like the Trangia, just a little bit bigger, and of course it is slightly limited by the fact that you specifically can only boil water on it, or create things that use boiled water. And the Kettle, although itself very efficient, it does create the smoke, the smell, that can easily give your position away if you're trying to stealth camp or raise the alarm that there might be a fire in a bit of woodland, especially over the last couple of months in the UK. There's been all sorts going on with fires springing up in places they shouldn't. But ultimately, it's something that I love to use, but I wouldn't really take out on a serious camping trip for just a couple of nights. I'd want something far more clean, I would say, because that's the other element with the Kettle. After it's been used, it is of course smelly and sooty, and potentially if that gets onto your kit, it starts to randomly appear everywhere. But ultimately, all three of them have their strengths and weaknesses. If I was saying what's probably the best of the three, I'd go for the Fire Maple. Which one is my favourite and which one do I use the most? Definitely the Trangia, and sadly the Kettle is out there in third place with no direct recommendation unless you're planning on a serious prolonged survival situation, in which case I wish you the best of luck. I will leave some Amazon associate links to these items down in the description below, so if you buy through those I will get a commission, so it's a great way to support the channel if you're looking at getting some of this kit anyway. And I suppose on that note I'll say thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all of my recent PayPal supporters, Facebook subscribers, channel members, super thankers and so on, including AJ, Zoe F, Rich AH, Melissa L, Colin S, me, Kevin Y, Alice L, Jackie A, Sean B, Kaz G, MV, George B, Marissa, Mr. Dave C, Lima Bean, 1234, Art V, Cloudface, Terence Seymour, Amber Sanford, Dogs, and Rob. Thank you so much for the support. I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I do without all of your support. Until the next time, my friends, keep it stove-worthy, keep it interesting, have a fantastic day, and of course, my friends, farewell.